So my next question will be related to this only. How to deal with blankness we feel when we come across some unexpected bad news?
Right. So unexpected bad news. Yeah. So at some point in everyone's life, I think we're going to get it. Bad news, like you said, it's coming. It always happens. It's no one's immune to it. No one's escapes it. It's not possible. You can't have positives in your life all along. But there are ways to process and deal with this sad news in a very healthy way to ensure that there is no adverse effects to your mental health. Uh, I think processing the news here is key. That's what we're going to focus on. And some of the ways to do that is, I think, accepting your negative emotion, whatever negative emotion you're feeling as a result of those bad news. You need to accept it, and it's scary. I'm not saying I definitely know, and I understand that it's not easy. It's difficult. It's absolutely almost impossible to accept your negative emotion because that's literally breaking out of your shell, kind of thing. And many people are afraid to accept it because they feel sad or it's heartbreaking, and that's rightfully so because it can be tempting to just resist acknowledging that you have these negative emotions to protect yourself. And that's what a lot of people do. And it seems to work for a little bit, but then it catches up. And many people have tried this. And initially it works, you protect yourself, you you just turn your face away from the negative emotions you're feeling, and it's okay for a while. But then the emotions start adding more and more stress as time goes on, and you're not able to identify the stress because you haven't accepted your own emotions. So you don't know where the stress is coming from, but there's stress, and you're feeling the bodily fatigue or the physiological symptoms of stress, but you don't know why you're stressed. And the fact that you're stressed but you don't know you're stressed adds to more stress because you don't know why. And the fact that you don't know why you're stressed just adds more stress. So it becomes an endless cycle of stress when you don't accept your negative emotion. And there's a lot of research and a lot of institutes have done this, and like they say that the stress we feel from avoiding negative emotions is a lot more than the stress we actually face when we face it head on. It's a little more hurtful initially when we face it head on, but on the long run, it's more beneficial accepting your negative emotions and learning to deal with them. So the thing is, like our approach to emotional reactions, it's essentially for our well-being, right? I mean, that's how we approach any kind of emotion. The end goal is our well-being. That's how we're wired. That's how we're programmed. So when we accept it, all those negative emotions of a sad news, without trying to change them, right? And a lot of research has shown that those kind of people are better equipped to deal with stress throughout their life in professional sense or whatever it is. If you're made a habit of accepting your negative emotion, you tend to be better equipped to deal with stress at, say, workplace or high pressure situations, whatever it is that you'll end up in. The next I would say is just kind of a exposure to the news, to the sad news. And this is a little tricky because too much of it can lead to depression, but moderate amount of exposure to the bad news you've heard is good because it gets you to overcome the situation. So a lot of people would say avoiding the situation, avoiding the bad news is the right thing to do, but it's very counterintuitive because, like I said, you're building the stress unknowingly, and it's piling, and it's going to blow up on you at one point. So, like when you fight against thinking about the bad news, like say you've lost your job, and it's been a week since you've lost your job, and you're just going through the motions every day. You get up, you just maybe watch TV the whole day, and you eat, sleep. That's all you're doing for that week because you're not thinking about this. You're trying not to, and the fact that you're trying not to think about it makes you want to think about it more. This is something we have as humans. The more we think about not wanting to do something, the more we feel like doing it because we're forcing ourselves. It's not genuinely accepting that we don't want to do it. We actually want to expose ourselves to the bad news, think about it, try to find solutions for it. So we have to explore the news, like, right, if the whole thing with the losing the job, you need to look at it, like search for new jobs, apply for new jobs. That's exposure to the news. You're taking control of the situation, of the bad news, and you're trying to do something about it. So if the more you avoid doing that, the more you're going to get a lot of symptoms like, say, chronic stress, digestive problems, lethargy, tiredness, mood of feeling low in mood, not having the, inspiration to do anything in life. So it starts going to, like I said, borderline depression when you start avoiding your exposure to the news. The last thing I can think about is reframing your thoughts. So there's this concept called cognitive reframing, and it's an interesting concept. So what it helps you do is take a situation in life and reframe your thoughts about that situation. So let's take this losing a job as the example, like I mentioned. Instead of focusing on the mistakes that you made that made led you to lose the role, you focus on looking at the situation as an opportunity to try new things, to creatively explore new jobs, new offers that you think might be more fulfilling. So the point here is to try to look at that sad news of a situation in a positive light as much as possible, of course. And I understand this is not always in our control. Whatever situation we're thrown in is most of the time outside of our control. And making the best of a situation is to try to look at all the positives you can gain from that bad news. I'll take another example. Let's say someone really close to you passed away, moved on. Of course, it's really sad news. It's devastating. Someone really close to you has just passed on, and it's understandable. You're going to feel really, really sad about it, and depressed sometimes also. Uh, to apply cognitive reframing in that situation, what you would do is relive your memories with that person. Think about them. Think about the time you spent with that person. Think about all the memories, and think about all the fun times you've had. Reminisce in a good way. Reminisce all the positives you've had about that person, and that will help you feel better. But not just that, there is more. What it does, at least in that situation, is it helps the person who's passed away live on within you. That's the kind of thinking you need to adapt. So the person who's passed has passed in this world, but they still live on within you, and that's what cognitive reframing is. So taking bad news, so taking bad situations, and looking at the positives that you're gaining from that situation. Because no matter how much of a bad news that you have, there is always positives to take. That's just how life works. There is always positives to take from every situation. We just need to look for it.
And continuing with your point, which you said, I think that if we speak to someone who understands us, it is a good way to vent our emotions and to let people know how you are feeling. It can help us deal with bad news also.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I was just thinking of things you could do on your own, but yes, absolutely. Talking to people who are close to you, friends, family, is a beautiful way to just, vent it out, like you said, put out all that stress so that you can think with a fresh mind, think with an open mind after that. That's a very, very good point you bring up.